Yo, what's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. I have the meta snapshot for patch 11.17b. There was a B patch. We'll get into that in just a bit. You guys might notice I am keeping it down right now. It's not because people are sleeping. It's because I don't want people to find out what the broken comps are. So going over the B patch, we have Aatrox got nerfed a little bit. That's the Reroll Legionnaire build. We have Nocturne nerf a little bit. That's the Assassin build. And then we also have a Vayne nerf. I have heard of a couple of Vayne builds in the last patch. Didn't see it that popular, but apparently they thought it was too powerful. They gave her a quick nerf there. But let's go into the best comps for patch 11.17b. To start things off, I think Sentinels are the best comp. They are by far the most played by pretty much all the good players. So even though there are a lot of other comps that are really good, even if Sentinels don't win a lot of games, like they're placing really high up and they're being played by literally everyone, that you cannot put them not in S tier. After that, I have a lot of comps in the A tier: Assassin, Skirmisher, Kayle, Knights, Abominations, and Aphelios. And then in the B tier, we have Invokers, Nightbringer, Yasuo, Riven, Cavalier, Cannoneers, Dawnbringer, Karma, Reroll, Legionnaire, and Forgotten Draven. And then the do not plays I have for this patch are Redeemed VELKOZ and Hellion. We'll get into why later, but let's get into some of the comps. And I updated a lot of the images for all the S and A tier comps. So definitely stuff to look out for here. We're going to go over how to play every single one of them. So starting off in the S tier, we have Sentinels. This is the only S tier comp for this week. And I made a little adjustment to the core build. The core build, we actually have 6 people now. We have Lucian, Senna, Action, Recon, Galio, and Pyke, because I think 6 Sentinels is just so much better than 3 Sentinels right now, because they made a little change to how the buff works, and it automatically goes to the unit with the most items. And if you just stack your Lucian, he's going to be the guy you want the buff on. 6 is greater than 3, so that's why we go for 6 Sentinels. For the full build, I add in a Volibear and Ivern. This can be subbed out for Nautilus and Rel. Both are really, really good. It's just whatever you hit, whatever tank units you are able to use during the game. So for items on Lucian, I like Last Whisper and Deathblade the most. After that, Hodge, followed by IE, BT, JG. All of these are very useful. If you build a JG, you definitely want the IE if you're going like the crit build of Lucian. But pretty much a lot of combinations of these items work pretty well on Lucian. Now onto the A tier, we have Assassin. 6 Assassin, much better than 4 Assassins. So if you get the Assassin Spatula or just a Spatula at the start of the game in general, definitely want to consider going for Assassin comp. Fiddlesticks is going to be using the Spatula item, and then I like having Zeke stacking and Trapclaw on him to buff up my Nocturne. This build did get nerfed a tiny bit, but I still think it's really, really strong because Nocturne counters a lot of the units in the meta, in my opinion, right now. For items on Nocturne, you want Last Whisper and Runons, and then after that, third item doesn't matter too much. I like having Rageblade personally, but it could literally be any good offensive item. So the way you play this comp, you want to slow roll at 7 for Nocturne 3, and nothing much has really changed there. Pretty much I just swapped out the items, and I added in 6 Assassins because I think that build is a lot better than 4 Assassins, and I wouldn't really consider playing the comp unless I had some way to get the Spatula item. And the reason behind that is just because 6 is just that much better than 4. Skirmisher Knights is the next build we're going to go over. Jack's mandatory items are Bloodthirster and Last Whisper. Third item doesn't matter too much. The build we have here is the 4 Knight version, so we have Galio, Garen, Nautilus, and Thresh, and then the 2 other Skirmishers are Viego and Aurelia. I have seen some people play Lee Sin instead of Aurelia, but I think they're both fine there. And then you round out the comp with as many Ironclads as possible with Rel and Nautilus, because Jax is an Ironclad, so you just stack them up there. And this one does like a standard leveling pattern because you're going for a Jax build, which is a 4 cost. Next build is Kayle Knights. Very popular comp last week. I still think it's really good this week because it didn't really get touched too much. Rageblade, Deathblade going to be the 2 mandatory items on Kayle. Third item doesn't matter. Some people like Bloodthirsters, some people like Hand of Justice, some people like Guardian Angel. Any of those items will do. Throw all your tank items on Galio and call it a day there. Next build, we have Abomination, HEIMER, and or VELKOZ, and this build dropped a little bit. I'd say it's kind of like weird because if you get to the HEIMER, I think that's the strongest version. You're going to be really good, even though HEIMER got nerfed a couple of patches ago. The VELKOZ version, VELKOZ also got nerfed, so it is struggling a bit. But this comp was so OP for so long, so even despite every single nerf that's been thrown at it, still decently playable. I'd say it's on the lowish part of the A tier. Next comp, we have Aphelios. This is like, I think, the last comp in the A tier. It's just standard 4 cost comp, and you're just going to use Aphelios carry, put your tank items on Rel or Galio, and you need to get a lot of gold at level 8 to play this comp because look at how expensive this team is. 1, 2, 3, 4 cost, so you really want to do some sort of fast 8 strategy when going for Aphelios. Items, it's going to be Deathblade and Rageblade. And then Shojin, I've been seeing a lot of people use Shojin. It's looking really effective, but I think the mandatory item is the Rage Blade. After that, like 2 other good items should be good enough depending on how strong your enemies are. So now onto the B tiers. B tiers are all still pretty good. Again, like TFT has changed a lot. Before there were only like 5 viable comps. Now you can pretty much play everything in most patches. Like even the B tier comps are not going to be as strong or as consistent as the A and S tiers, but still pretty good nonetheless. So for the Invoker comp, this is the super late game build where you run 4 legendaries and you run the Karma as your carry until you can swap her items onto someone else. HEIMER or Teemo work. You're going to have Garen with the full tank items in the front. If you get him to 2-star, if Volibear's 2-star, you put them on Volibear. Pretty much whoever you 2-star, put your items on that person. The way to get into this comp is if you are playing some sort of ability power build and then you just swap the items over once you hit the late game legendaries. Pretty hard comp to play and you can't force it every time, but like the games where you do get this, you're going to be winning a lot. Next comp, we have Nightbringer Yasuo. So this is a reroll build similar to the Assassin build, just not as strong, where you just reroll for Yasuo 3-star. If there are a lot of Nocturne players, it's kind of worth going this comp because it makes it easier to hit Yasuo because a lot of the 3-cost units are taken out of the pool. So go for this if you have a lot of Yasuos and maybe there's like a Riven and a Nocturne player in your lobby. Next comp, we have Riven, same story there. If there's a Yasuo and a Nocturne player, might be worth it to go for Riven carry because a lot of the units are going to be taken out of the pool, leaving you able to get a lot of Rivens. All 3 of the comps I just mentioned, they all do a slow roll at level 7 because that is the highest chance to get a 3-cost unit while having the most amount of gold. In doing a slow roll, you could still level up to level 8 before you hit your desired 3-star, but only do so if you are really desperate or really needing to add in an extra unit to power up your team, and maybe like you don't have that much hope of hitting the 3-star until much later. Riven overall, my thoughts are, it's still good, but like I feel like they nerfed Riven and Yasuo unnecessarily in the previous patch. Not the B patch, but the one before that. And yeah, I just didn't really see the reason why. They weren't like completely dominating, but they're still decent comps if you get good starts with them, which I think maybe that's why they nerfed them a tiny bit. They only want people to go for it if they have the exact scenario that allows it to succeed. Next comp we have is Cavalier Cannoneer. I personally don't really like this comp that much, but it's still decent. Again, if you get an amazing start for it, like it's kind of worth exploring. I wouldn't like hard force a composition. I'd probably play it and then transition into something else. But if you do that strategy and then you get a ton more Hecarims, a ton more Misfortunes, it's worth exploring into doing the like full reroll version before you level up. So the way to play this, you want to hit the 2-cost units. So that means you want to slow roll at level 6 in order to maximize your chances of getting 3-star versions of them. After that, Dawnbringer Karma. Karma's kind of trash, not gonna lie, but putting her in the C tier felt a little too harsh because no one goes for her. So if you do go for a Karma build, it's pretty free to do because no one's going for her. So it's uncontested, meaning it's easy to get her to 2-star theoretically in most games. And then as long as you itemize her correctly, she's still going to do a little bit of work, just not as much as the other 4-cost carries. After that, Reroll Legionnaire, they nerfed this comp a little bit, but essentially you just want to slow roll at level 5 for Aatrox and Kalista 3-star, put a bunch of attack damage and attack speed items on Kalista, and then put all your tank items on Aatrox. And then after that, you want to follow it up with 6 Redeemed and 4 Knights or 4 Legionnaire. You want to pick 2 of these 3 options and pretty much just roll from there. For spatula items, I like putting Knight Spatula on Rel. Sometimes I like putting Redeemed Spatula on Kalista so that she gets a buff. And then for Legionnaire Spatula, I don't really think it matters who you give it on, but probably Lux would be the best holder for that one there. After that, we have Forgotten Draven. The build I have here is a little outdated. I feel like the 4 Forgotten version is better. I'll update this next week, but essentially you just do the same thing. You put all your items on Draven, add in a bunch of complementary synergies, and then you want to do a standard leveling pattern because he is a 4-cost carry. Now onto the C tiers, VELKOZ. Yeah, kind of in the dumpster. One, because they nerf VELKOZ a lot. But then when people do play VELKOZ, they play him in the Abomination build. So that's why I rank Karma higher than VELKOZ, because no one goes for Karma, whereas for VELKOZ, you're still going to be contested by all the Abomination players, so it's not really worth it to go to the redeemed version. After that, we have Hellion Reroll. They nerfed Tristana too much, and she was the main carry of that comp. They also nerfed Kennen, and when those two are nerfed, there's not really too much of a point of playing Hellion Reroll, is there? So that's why they're in the dumpster still until they bring them back. Kind of hard to balance this comp because Tristana is very oppressive. She's either the best unit in the game or one of the worst because she either kills everything or dies before she kills one unit. And yeah, it's just very delicate and difficult to balance her because of that. She just jumps around and like pretty much pisses everyone off. Now onto the items. We have a little bit of a change from last week. I put bow as second priority. Belt I still think is the best, and I feel like most items have pretty strong starts and you don't really get screwed over unless you get a Negatron, but belt is too important because Warmogs is just the best tank item in the game right now. Bow is super good if you look at all the top tier comps we have. We have Lucian, we have Assassin, Skirmisher, Kayle, all of them use bow. And then after that we have the sword. Another great item for all of those comps we just mentioned. Chain Vest, great for Sunfire Cape, great for Bramble Vest, because those items belong in pretty much every comp. So if you want to play flexibly, Belt and Chain are probably your go-tos there. And then the next tier of items I'd say are Glove, Tier, and Rod. Those are all a step below the first four. And these are if you want to go AP comps, or Glove is pretty good in pretty much every comp because it builds both types of offensive items. Pretty much just avoid Negatron. And then let's just sum up the comps. We have, again, Sentinels, S tier. They're just the most popular. I don't care what anyone says. A lot of people complain when I put Sentinels at the top because they don't win every game. Keep in mind, guys, comps are a very small part of TFT. Most of like winning in TFT comes down to just like playing the game very well. And comps are just one dimension of that. So I know a lot of people, they like hate when I put Sentinels in S tier, but like they are the most popular comp. They are the most played comp by far by all the good players. So yeah, just because the data is backing up, like Sentinels is by far the best, and they got buffed recently. That's why I have them there. And if you guys do end up losing with Sentinels, like there are a lot more factors than just what comp you play in a game like Teamfight Tactics. If not, like if comps were the only factor in TFT, like you could just literally copy any tier list and get to Challenger in like 10 games or whatever. But we all know that that's not true because comps are just one dimension of it. A tiers, Assassins are my favorite personally because Spatula is actually like pretty easy to get in my opinion. And if you get it, 6 Assassins just completely dominates the game, so that's why I like it a lot, and it counters a lot of the good comps in the game right now that rely on backline carries, and there isn't that much defense against Assassins right now, in my opinion. The Jax build picked up in popularity a lot this week. Kayle Knights, same as last week, still really strong. ABOMs, like they got nerfed a couple patches ago, but they're still decent, and then we have Aphelios, pretty much just like generic 4-cost carry type of build. Yeah, these are the comps I'd probably stick with the most. I'd probably try to, like, if you guys are asking for comps just to spam in like whatever elo you're in, Sentinels is probably the best, followed by maybe Skirmishers and then Aphelios. And then for the games where you go for it and you're going to do really well if you get a good start for it, that's going to be Assassins, that's going to be Kayle, that's going to be Abominations, Yasuo, and Riven. And then, yeah, I'd probably stay away from these comps over here. So everything above Riven would be the ones I'd play. If I was playing 20 games and you told me to pick like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comps to play, I'd probably pick these and pretty much go these for the next 100 games, for example. Like I feel like you can get away with not playing anything below here and be fine in this patch. So if you guys want to play these because you like them or they are fun for you, like go ahead and do that. But if you want to just focus on like getting better of the game in stuff other than compositions, I'd probably just stick to like maybe pick 3 or 4 of these or just one of them as well, just to practice throughout the next week. But that's going to be it for me. Again, like sorry about my voice today because I just have to keep it down because we don't want to be waking up everyone in the house. But hopefully that will be changed later. But apart from that, don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. And if you guys enjoyed this or if this video helped you in climbing in TFT, go ahead and like the video below. It's free to do, and that would help me a lot. So thank you so much. I will see you all next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And of course, smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.